What's up? It's AboveUp. When I originally started getting into anime, there was one anime in particular that really stuck with me. It was called Hikaru no Go, and I kind of wanted to talk about that because it seems to be getting traction again lately, which is really interesting to see. There's one part in particular that I want to talk about, but I guess I'll just do a quick highlight of what the show is about for the few people who are like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? Because there's something really interesting that happens later in the series. So anyway, Hikaru no Go is an anime about a young boy who basically releases a old ghost of a Go player. And this ghost, instead of doing the usual Yu-Gi-Oh route, which would be the easy way to go about, he doesn't take over Hikaru's body or really pushes him to do anything that he doesn't want to. But what he wants to do is play Go, and he is obsessed about this game. In the meantime, Hikaru has absolutely no intention of playing this board game whatsoever. He just wants to do his own thing. He doesn't want to do anything serious that requires thought or anything. He ends up playing a few games for Sai, which is the name of the ghost. And through doing this, he ends up actually setting up a rivalry with a young boy who, in his mind, is kind of untouchable to people even twice his own age. It doesn't even stop at that. He ends up joining tournaments where the ghost plays for him. The ghost essentially just beats everyone's ass until it gets to the point where Hikaru wants to make his own moves and do his own thing and wants to actually learn what this game actually is, which ends up being at a tournament playing against the rival, where the rival actually gets upset because he feels like Hikaru is just toying with him. It's actually a really good series. It does all the sports anime stuff very well. There's some really great music. If you look at the photos on this video right now, the art is actually done by the same person as Death Note, and one of the things that it does especially well that I always found interesting is that the main character grows over time. He gradually becomes older. It's not like he's suddenly a lot older. There's no time skips anywhere in the series. It's just one moment he's just this tiny little chubby kid, and the next he's an adult playing as a professional player. And you start getting flashbacks to back in the day, and it's whoa, this guy changed a lot. Even his fashion sense changes over time. But the thing that I always found interesting that it did was that there's a story arc later where some guy is trying to tell them about the scientific technology stuff that is going to push Go to the next generation, and it's basically playing the game online over the internet. It's not even using weird phrasing for it, it's just play this shit online. It's really great. You can play with people all across the planet. And they even show people in the Netherlands playing it, which I always thought was interesting. But basically, this unleashes this whole story arc where the ghost Sai can finally be himself online and play this game against others without the whole hiding thing behind Hikaru, even though Hikaru still has to make the moves for him. But because of this whole legacy starts about this unbeatable player that nobody can stop. Actual pro players start challenging him because they're interested in this new unstoppable force, because something like this has never happened before. The reason this is so interesting, and I see people mention why didn't they discuss the possibility of him playing against an AI? And back when that series was written, there was no computer strong enough to beat a professional player yet. In fact, if you were 10th Q, which isn't that amazing as an amateur player, you could probably beat the strongest computer with a 10-second time limit per move. The computers were trash at it. So the reason that this is interesting is because around the same time that the manga was actually being written, this actually happened. Not the ghost part. Although it would be cool if it actually ended up being a ghost. But there was a unbeatable player on the Kiseido Go server, which is the main Go server that most people play at, unless you're Korean. Even Japanese people, a lot of them used to play there. They were actually incentivized, by the owners of the server to come play on that server, so other people can actually watch the games live as they happen. But there was a player there called Tartrate who was completely unbeatable. I think his only main loss back in those days, as the series was being written, was when he played 2 games at the same time, which ended up being too much for him. It's not something you can actually attribute to a loss, but it's the closest that anyone got in that time period. Actual pros came up to him and actually challenged him to a game and got beaten. Nobody could figure out who the fuck this guy was. It's one of the most interesting moments of that server. He's actually come back multiple times, and there's debates about whether or not that was actually the same guy. Mostly because the last time he came back, he actually did lose. And it has to be noted, it was actually against one of the major pro players at the time that he lost the game. It was actually something that was set up, I think, as an event to teach new people how to play the game by showing them a high-level game being played live. Another minor aspect that I always thought was really great in Hikaru no Go was the fact that, and this doesn't appear in the anime, it's only in the manga, where his mother tries to stop Hikaru from becoming a pro player because he's like seriously considering becoming a pro. He really wants to do this. He wants to, use his entire life to just play this game because he realized he's actually good at it. And his mom just is completely against it and wants him to finish his school and not go after this crazy game where most people going through pro camp don't make it at the end. I always thought that was a really interesting touch because you usually don't see it that strongly in a sports anime. Probably why they didn't even do it in the anime version. Because usually the mom is like really supportive and is like, go, follow your dreams, do the thing that you really want to do. And here it's like, no, Hikaru, fuck off with this shit. You're not going to waste your life playing a fucking game. Be productive. Do something with your life. And he still makes it in the end. He actually ends up tanking his record and then the manga stops. Which is also something that is really interesting. Like, it wasn't the ending that was meant for the series. The author and the artist got in a fight and basically just stopped the entire thing together. But originally, the point where it ended, because of something that happened in his personal life, he just had a lot of forfeits. So he basically just botched his professional career. As far as we know, they were leading up to him going to a tournament and maybe redeeming himself. But, then everything just stopped. Kind of like Slam Dunk, where they build up to the tournament and then the tournament just never happens. This is why you don't get into sports manga, because it just doesn't end. At the same time, you should really get into sports manga because it does the shonen patterns better than most shonen. Yeah, I just thought the whole thing with Tartrate was really interesting, and I kind of wanted to talk about it because I see more and more people talk about like Go and Hikaru no Go, and I heard the American Go Association has actually been giving schools copies of Hikaru no Go manga, as well as like an actual board and stones to play with, which is really fucking cool if you think about it. But yeah, a lot of people don't seem to really understand where this whole online play story element came from. And I really think that it was inspired by Tartrate, because that was something that was very topical. And most of the stuff that Hikaru no Go did at the time was kind of topical, like the decline of Go at the time, and then the slow climb and the rise of the sport again, as well as the fact that like almost all of the games that are played, when you look at the board positions, those are actual professional games that were being played around that time. So chances are they actually did really do it because of that. That was the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed that. I don't even know why I made it. I just wanted to. So I'll see you guys around. See ya.